returned.
Keir Starmer, if people are struggling, how is that going to make Paula or...
Starmer is pathetic because his unconvincing lies are being exposed absolutely. And every day we find out more about this vile man. He finally got everything he deserved. I suggest we watch the debate, where Sunak predicted absolutely all the dastardly actions of Starmer that awaited us after the Labour Party came to power. Now we perceive these words different. Worse than the other, the goofy Boris Johnson, then Liz Truss, who gave the impression of an ignorant person, then Rishi Sunak, who inexplicably agreed to head the government, if now, as they say, he intended to go to the United States to solve his problems. The Labour Party did not offer a clear programme. It looked like this: elect us because the Conservatives are bad. And yes, Starmer himself, after the resignation of Liz Truss, actively called for early parliamentary elections to put an end to the mess of the Conservative Party government.
Prime Minister just keeps saying he lives in a different world.
By the end of September, inflation in the UK was 1.7% per annum, which is the lowest value since April 2021. The growth of consumer prices in the country slowed down more than the forecasts of analysts, who expected to see inflation at the level of 1.9% in the first month of autumn. In August, the indicator was 2.2% per annum. The main factor in the decline in the indicator was the decrease in prices for air tickets and gasoline. At the beginning of 2024, over 7 million Britons were having difficulty paying utility bills and repaying loans. The indicator has improved significantly compared to last January. Nevertheless, it is still far below the values that were recorded before the pandemic and the cost of living crisis in the country. Adults with children, representatives of ethnic minorities, residents of the northeast of England, as well as tenants were in the most vulnerable situation. Hospitals across England all but halted patient care as doctors went on another 48-hour strike amid an ongoing pay dispute. Thousands of doctors said they would only provide emergency care, and the National Health Service warned that serious disruptions in patient admissions should be expected during the two-day strike. They demanded higher wages in the face of the cost of living crisis in the UK. The government has said that negotiations on medical salaries should be considered completed after promising to raise salaries for senior doctors by 6%. However, doctors called the 6% salary increase offensive and said that over the past 14 years, doctors have faced a 35% drop in their incomes. The government devalued doctors and we watched them quit. In recent years, millions of workers, including train and bus drivers and teachers across the UK, have quit in protest at the authorities' refusal to bring their salaries in line with the cost of living. Starmer was accused of narrow-minded leftist ideology for refusing to use the services of private medical institutions, when even most supporters of the Labour Party would have done so. In addition to this, there are three major unions that support the party: Unite, Unison and GMB, which offer private health insurance to their members. Unison offers an additional medical plan that returns money for daily healthcare expenses, such as visits to the dentist and optometrist, and helps with paying for specialist consultations. And Unite returns the money to pay for diagnostic consultations of specialists. Therefore, I very much doubt that he does not use these offers. Pensioners are forced to pay income tax. Official statistics show that over the past 3 years, the number of retired income tax payers has increased by 2 million people. The increase in the size of the state pension, combined with frozen tax thresholds, has led to the fact that even those with small private pensions and other incomes have now also entered the circle of taxpayers. The threshold freeze has increased the tax burden for low and middle income workers, as well as imposed it on retirees. Thanks to this fiscal policy, the government was able to collect an additional £40 billion a year. The government liked this measure so much that it froze the thresholds until 2028. However, such a policy has increased the tax burden on low and middle income citizens. Now employees are starting to save money, spend less on purchases, which leads to a decrease in the income of entrepreneurs and a general economic downturn. As the tax burden increases, mainly on people with low and middle incomes, it also contributes to increasing economic inequality in society. Speaking of Liz Truss, she resigned after the failure of fiscal policy related to tax cuts. Truss was in power for only 44 days, making her reign the shortest tenure as Prime Minister in British history.
It's the most liberal Prime Minister we've ever had on immigration. We've never had numbers like this before. And he says that you can believe him on the boats. Nobody should be making that crossing across the channel. 18 months ago, the Prime Minister made a promise. He said, just like the NHS promise, personally accountable for it, that he would stop the boats. This year alone, 10,000 people have crossed on boats. That's a record number. So again, he's made a promise and he's completely failed to keep it.
Starmer confirmed that he does not intend to continue working on the implementation of the scheme of the last Conservative government to deport illegal migrants to Rwanda. He believes that the Rwanda scheme was dead and buried before it even started. She has never been a deterrent. And he is not ready to continue with tricks that, in his opinion, do not act as a deterrent. Illegal migrants often look for any opportunity to end up in the UK and obtain refugee status, which opens up access to benefits and social programs. The country's authorities spend several £million a day to accommodate refugees in hotels, and Starmer completely failed the plan. A former ambulance worker was ordered to pay a fine of £6,000 after border guards found a migrant hiding from them in a trailer attached to his mobile home. He was returning to the UK with his wife when the French authorities discovered the migrant. The couple had no idea about him and were preparing to board the ferry to return home. The migrant was originally from Sudan. The pensioner said that he would not pay a fine of £6,000 for anything and appealed. What do you think about it? Share your opinion in the comments. See you later.